Hello everyone, I'm Carol Lighthall with Okemo Valley Chamber of Commerce in Ludlow, Vermont. Today we have with us a guest, someone I haven't seen in quite some time, Claudio Veliz from Chester. And so Claudio is by day an architect, and by night, I suppose he's going to tell us about that. Claudio,
Yes.
nice to see you. Thanks for
Pleasure.
coming in. And I would also say I can't leave out Leah Krieble over here on my left, assistant director. So we're both going to pitch in today in the interview. So Claudio, back to who you are,
Okay.
your day job, and all things astronomy.
Well, I studied architecture, astronomy, and physics in university, and my growing interest was in both those subjects. When I moved to New York City back in the 80s, I volunteered at the Hayden Planetarium, where I was recruited by a professor at the University of Columbia University to lecture at the astronomy department there. And when I moved to New York from New York, I should say, to Vermont, and about 20 years ago, I taught at Castleton University, and now I teach at Keene State College in their CALL program in Keene, New Hampshire.
So I was hearing recently that April 8th and the eclipse is likely to bring huge numbers of people to the state of Vermont, and just wonder if you could jump into explaining what an eclipse is.
Sure.
And what we have to look forward to.
Yeah, an eclipse is really a very simple thing. It's a big cold ball of rock that's floating in front of a big ball of plasma, of hot plasma, which is what our sun is. And that's it. And it blocks the light for about 3 or 4 minutes. And the net result is that for those who are going to be strictly in the zone of totality, that is where the shadow is 100% obscuring the sun, they will be able to see the corona around the perimeter of the sun, around the disk of the moon, if you will, that emits from the sun. And that's really the highlight. Anywhere else, just seeing a partial, so-called partial, you don't see any of that. You really don't see the eclipse. You see a portion of obscuration of the disk of the sun, but that's all it is. Yeah, if you're not in the path of totality, you will not see that coronal detail, which is so spectacular to watch, and potentially a once-in-a-lifetime experience for those who don't travel. But there are a number of eclipses that occur all the time, if you're willing to travel to other parts of the world. The different eclipses I've managed to see over the years have been total solar. I've seen a few of those. The best one was 1991 in the southern tip of Baja California. That went on for something like 7.5 minutes, maybe more than that. But it was very long, wonderful. But the different kinds of eclipses that I've seen are total solar eclipse, partial, annular, hybrid, and partial and total lunar eclipses, which are much easier for people to see. In fact, there's a wonderful one coming up in March of next year that we will easily be able to, skies permitting, easily be able to see from here in Vermont.
Now you also mentioned something to me, gave a little bit of a story that was so interesting to me. You talked about an eclipse, but when it happened, the sky was dark, the stars were out.
Yes. Yeah, if you're in the path of totality, and you have to be up near, for our area, you need to be up near or north of Middlebury. That's roughly it. I think it's a little south of Middlebury on up, presuming the sky is clear. But yes, if you're in the path of totality, you will see Jupiter, Venus, and stars in the daytime sky. It gets that dark. And there's also a sunset sunrise that's 360 degrees all the way around you. It really is a unique experience, and you don't forget it very easily. You know?
So how about the difference between a partial and a total
Yeah,
eclipse?
again, they really are very different things. There's a popular misconception that if I am able to see 70% of a total solar eclipse, that's 70% of a total solar. It's not. If you're at the 99.9% obscuration point on the ground, it will be as if you're not seeing it. It will get dark, but you won't see the corona, because as long as some portion of the disk of the sun is visible, even a small portion, that's bright enough that it keeps you from seeing the corona. So if you, for example, if you're say 50 miles south of the path, I strongly recommend driving into the path of totality, and then if you can, get to the center line, because that's where the period of total obscuration will be the longest.
And so the center line is where? You said just south of?
Yeah, well, it runs, well, the whole center line runs from just south, by the way, of Baja California, up through Mexico, Texas, through the middle of the country, clips the northern third of Vermont, and then a little corner, I believe, of New Hampshire, then Maine, and then Canada, and off it goes to the North Atlantic. Yeah.
Yes, fabulous.
And you can look, if you look online and just look up Eclipse interactive map or similar, you'll find oodles of sites where you can actually see exactly where the path of totality will be.
And you were saying too, so there's the map, and then there's the conditions. So how do you decide where you're going to be?
I am committing to nothing, because everything depends on the sky. Now, if it's going to be overcast throughout the Northeast, then I'm going to be joining a group in Wethersfield here, rain or shine, by the way, to do a special program all that afternoon on the eclipse, because we will be trying to watch it live online. NASA Live TV is going to be covering it through the day. We will have what's called a hydrogen alpha filtered telescope there, just in case the sun peeks through a hole or something. You can find out about that on our group's website, the Southern Vermont Astronomy Group.
So do you have any words of wisdom as people prepare for the eclipse? What would you share?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're able to do. If you're willing to drive and you can see where the skies are going to be clear or clear-ish, then I would drive. I would be prepared for that, make sure the car's filled with a tank of gas, and it's been the week before, which is this coming week, I would make sure the mechanics of the car are in good shape and all that sort of practical, common sense stuff. And you can have a look at the predictive sky conditions on a number of sites. There are a couple sites I would recommend to people. One is Eclipsophile, sounds funny, eclipsophile.com, and it's, as the name implies, it is dedicated to anyone who wants to look at an eclipse, strategies, where things are happening, all of that. Number two is called windy.com, as in blowing wind, windy.com, and it provides, I think, about 7 or 8, maybe 9 days, I can't recall, I think around 8 days of forecast in the future of, as the name implies, the wind conditions, but also cloud coverage, humidity, other things. And that's how I and a number of our other astronomy enthusiasts are going to be setting up our strategy.
And maybe a reminder too to wear the protection on your eyes.
There's a slight misconception that's sustained by some media sources, and that is this. You need protective eyewear whenever you're looking at the sun, with one exception. For that 3 or 4 minutes during which you're on the center line or within that zone of totality that you're able to look at the total solar eclipse. You don't want anything in front of your eyes. You want to see and experience the beauty of that experience. But 100% of the rest of the time during partial phases or during any time you want to look at the sun to try to see sunspots with your naked eye, which you can do if the sunspots are big enough, you need those glasses. But there's another way that you can watch the partial phases of the sun for free if you don't have the glasses, and that is make a hole. You can make it with your fingers crossed over or using a colander. You don't look through that, but rather you let the light of the sun pass through those holes and project onto a sheet of paper or board or down on the ground. And that's a perfectly safe way to do that.
I think we covered everything we wanted to cover today.
Good.
Thank you for that.
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. I'm Carol Lighthall with Okemo Valley Chamber of Commerce.
I'm
Leah
Leah Krieble.
Krieble, Assistant Director, and our guest today, Claudio Veliz. And Claudio is both an architect and astronomer, and he's part of the Southern Vermont Astronomy Group. So we'll provide information on the group on our blog. Thanks for joining in today.